Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story that honestly feels like it's pulled straight from science fiction. We're talking about a discovery that shakes up our most basic ideas about our ancient relatives, and maybe even the origin of art itself. We're going to explore what might just be the world's very first emoji.
Okay, just let that sink in for a second. Emojis and Neanderthals. I know, right? Those two words do not feel like they belong in the same sentence, let alone the same millennium. But what if the science, the actual hard evidence, pointed to exactly that? A simple symbol with a complex meaning, just waiting for us to find it 65,000 years later.
So, to solve this incredible mystery, we first have to understand who the artist was. And that means we need to get past that classic cartoon image of the club-wielding, grunting caveman. It's time we get to know the real Neanderthals.
For more than 100 years, this has been the picture we've all had in our heads, right? You know, the brutish, simple-minded runner-up in the game of evolution. The evolutionary dead end that was just no match for the brainy new kids on the block, Homo sapiens.
But here's the thing. Science is completely tearing up that old script. Where we once pictured simple hunters, we now have proof of incredibly complex toolmakers. Where we just assumed they had no culture, we're finding burials and real signs that they cared for their sick and their elderly. And that biggest assumption of all, that they couldn't think in symbols, well, that's the idea that's about to be completely shattered.
So, what is this incredible piece of evidence? Well, for that, we have to travel to the scene of the creation, a cave in Spain that held on to a secret for tens of thousands of years. A single clue left behind in stone.
Deep inside this cave, archaeologists found something that, at first glance, doesn't look like much. It's just a series of lines carved into the wall in a sort of cross-hatched pattern. But these were no random scratches. Scientific analysis showed they were made deliberately, with intention. And based on all the other evidence lying around, there was only one possible artist.
And this is where the story goes from interesting to absolutely mind-blowing. Using this really cool technique called uranium-thorium dating, scientists were able to test the thin mineral crusts that had formed over the markings. This let them figure out a minimum age for the art that was underneath. And it turned out to be at least 65,000 years old. So why is that date so incredibly important? Because that is a full 20,000 years before our direct ancestors, Homo sapiens, are even thought to have set foot in that part of Europe. There's no one else it could be. The artists had to be Neanderthals.
Okay, so it's ancient, and it was made by Neanderthals. Got it. But it's just a few lines on a rock, right?
Why does this matter so much?
Well, to really get it, we need to put the whole emoji thing aside for a second and crack the code of what this marking really means.
It all comes down to this one crucial concept: symbolic thought. It's the ability to let one thing stand for something else, like how the word tree represents the actual plant, or a flag represents an entire country. It is the absolute foundation of all language, art, and complex culture. And for a very, very long time, we thought it was our species' exclusive superpower.
And that is why this simple little carving is such a revolution. The analysis proved it wasn't an accident. It wasn't a byproduct of them sharpening a tool or butchering an animal. Somebody took the time and the mental energy to create this specific pattern. They were embedding an idea into the rock of the cave itself. They made a symbol.
So let's tie this back to our modern idea. Step 1, the mark is made on purpose. Step 2, that mark has to stand for a shared idea, something bigger than just lines on a wall. We'll probably never know if it meant this is a sacred place, or this is our territory, or something else entirely, but that's the point. And step 3, its most important job, is to use a simple visual to send a complex message that others can understand. That is the very heart of symbolic communication, and it's the exact same principle behind every single emoji you've ever sent.
And believe me, the scientific community totally gets how important this is. The lead researchers on this project called it a complete game changer, something that fundamentally forces us to rethink how we see a human evolution. This wasn't just digging up another old bone. This was like finding an ancient thought, frozen in time.
So let's pull back and look at the big picture here. What does one ancient carving in a single cave in Spain really mean for the huge, sprawling story of humanity?
It means that the clear, bright line we used to draw between us, the supposedly unique artistic Homo sapiens, and them, the supposedly primitive Neanderthals, is getting really, really blurry. In fact, what this discovery suggests is that the cognitive abilities we thought made us so special, like abstract thought, might not be so unique after all. They could be a shared inheritance from a common ancestor, way deeper in our past.
So, let's just quickly recap the big ideas. Number 1. Neanderthals were not the simple brutes of our imagination. Far from it. This carving is proof they were capable of symbolic thought, a huge cornerstone of modern human intelligence. It also shows they had a form of visual culture. And really, it just reminds us that our human family tree is so much more complex and way more fascinating than the simple stories we used to tell ourselves.
And a discovery like this just blows the doors open to a whole universe of new questions. I mean, if Neanderthals had the mental wiring for symbols, could they have had a more complex spoken language than we ever imagined? What other kinds of art did they make on things like wood or animal hides that have just rotted away over 65,000 years?
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other profound secrets about who we are and where we really come from are still out there, just waiting in the dark for us to finally find them? Thanks for joining us.